Planet of the Apes, issue number 5. This is the finale to the 20th Century Studios book that Marvel has released. There is no sequel or planned other run for the Planet of the Apes over there at Marvel right now. Which, I guess it makes sense. Like, we're in a very uncertain time. There is a huge possibility that the new movie will be delayed. It's supposed to come out in May. I could see it being pushed to the summer. That might do better. I don't know. It's very weird, very hostile over there right now. Things are not going well, but that's another issue. This is a Marvel Comics book. They are reprinting all like the classic Marvel Planet of the Apes stuff in like a big omnibus, which is kind of exciting. But here we go. It's the finale to this run. I've really liked it. It definitely feels like Walker had an idea to be like, no, the apes have always been about like a socio-political commentary. We can talk about like the effects of the pandemic and how like extremist groups like perceive viruses a certain way. And that's what this book has done, and I appreciate it so much. So we're ramping up to the ending. We are going to go to Washington, D.C. because these zealots have taken over the state. We're going to finish the job because Tobin is the only one capable of ending this war because she's the only one that led like a successful mission. So she's going to do it. We open up the book. We see a couple of the terrorist guys. Like, we break into the zoo. Everything's going to be hunky-dory for us. And suddenly they are, like, ambushed by the apes that we see were on the ship with Tobin. So, they're fighting the war now. One's got a hammer and sickle. Do with that as you will. That's intentional. Like, view it however you want, but that's a very intentional thing that happened. Very cool. We cut back to days earlier where Tobin's with her boyfriend and the apes, and they are headed to New York, and they pass like the Statue of Liberty. Of course, a very symbolic piece of iconography in the real world, but in the Planet of the Apes universe too. Statue of Liberty represents like the end of humanity, a war that killed itself. But the Madam Secretary General's like, look, it's now or never. You have to decide if you want to help us or like do something else. Not looking good. Who knows what's going to happen? Tobin kind of only has like one request. She's like, I will do this for you. I will go on to your mission. I'll do your war. But before that, I want to marry my boyfriend. So they're going to get married on the ship before they head out to battle. And the apes are going to work with them. So that's pretty sick. Then we see like the present day where the apes have like spears and they got like harpoons and stuff. And they're working with the people, and they're going to like be soldiers in this army because the United States military has nothing left but the apes at their disposal to take down this extremist group. Is it going to work? Well, of course it is. We know where the Planet of the Apes universe goes. It's just exactly what I want to see from this book. We're in the early days. We're kind of like in between. Where Rise has happened. Dawn and War haven't. This is the early stuff we needed to see where like these apes are going to go crazy. They're going to take over. So they're learning to use weapons. They haven't learned to talk yet. They got the sign language thing going down, and they just attack some extremist groups. And it's pretty cool. You have like the one soldier who's like, this is great. Like, everything's going well. Everything's going fine. I love this. Very beautiful. We also see that Tobin sends her husband with the apes to like be free, like all the younger ones that can't fight, the ones that are hurt. So they're going to go be over there in another world. That's kind of fun. They're going to Atlanta, where there's like the sanctuary, like the last stronghold for them to get the research done. What I find very fascinating about this book too is that it kind of ends on like a hopeful note for humanity. Like, we might just find a cure, but we know they don't, because we have read a Planet of the Apes book before, and we've seen exactly what this universe sets up. So they're back in the streets of DC, and now they're just kind of like watching the carnage like reach its climactic ending. A lot of people are dead. It's kind of barbaric in a sense that some of the soldiers are like, I suppose it could be worse. Like, you could be on the other side of the gorilla and you just see someone like the terrorists being dragged away by the apes. And then they're just like defeated soldiers. And then like we line them up in like a row and we're going to murder them. And this is where Tobin's like, okay, well, I'm done. Like, I'm not a soldier that's going to murder these innocent people. Like, this is what the government has become. I do not want to be a part of it. So she walks away with the apes, and they're going to let humanity deal with their crazy bullshit, which is kind of interesting. Like this book also has like a quiet theme running through it where the apes don't hate humanity. What they hate is the virus that has turned them into the enemy. So this is just kind of like, we're going to let humanity deal with itself, which is very much a situation that the future apes are going to deal with. Like humanity, that's a problem for them to execute and arrange. We're just going to go back, find our young, head to Atlanta. We're going to meet up and everything's going to be safe. So Tobin leaves with her army of apes. We start to see a bunch of new ones form. What I really like about the book too, and this is something I haven't really talked about, is you just slowly start to see like the rise of Planet of the Apes, but like the rise of their personality start to show. The one of them had the hammer and sickle, he's wearing armor. One of them's got like a leather jacket and goggles on. Some of them are wearing football gear. They're slowly becoming individuals as the book is progressing, and that's like a really cool thing to see. It brings a new edge to it. So we head to Atlanta and we see that, okay, everything's going to be better, right? Everything's going to be fine. We can all live happily ever after. And I think it's the mother ape who had like the younger one is just like watching these humans be like, hey, you're here. You made it. We're all going to be safe now. Everything's hunky dory. And she's just kind of like, well, that is just not true. And I appreciate that. Just so nonchalantly like, okay, I mean, if you say so, it's probably not going to be the case, but who am I to argue with you? That's pretty fun. And that's where the main book ends, but of course we do have the stuff with Pug, because Pug kind of becomes, as this book tells us, the symbol of propaganda for the ape army. We realize that the person he captured in the last issue is also like the narrator telling us about the events of this, and you just see like, this is where the theme comes in. We're like, Pug didn't want to like kill humans. He cared about them. Like he gives this guy a candy like to eat so he can stay alive. He didn't hate the humans. He hated the virus and the way it's treating people. So you see him like save a bunch of kids that are being like, forced to believe a certain conspiracy by their elders, and he's like, go have your own thoughts and freedoms. And the kids start to respect this ape. And you see like the final pages of the narration where it's like, over the years, many have wondered how Pug could become a symbol of hope to so many. How could human beings give so much regard and respect to a former circus gorilla? After all, Pug was not even human, but the answer is simple. And that's where it like ends. You're like, what's the answer? You're like, well, then we kind of end with like the hand of God reaching out to feed the young. It's like he was a genuinely good ape. He was trying to be nice. That's where it ends. And you're like, yeah, I buy that. What a fun backup to this kind of book. It's so interesting. I really like the apes. I like when we do anything with the apes and Marvel getting the license back. You're like, okay, show me what you got. And this just went, yeah, okay, well, we got a political take that's very president in our times. And that's really, really fun to see. And then it's just like, yeah, ape stuff. Here's the propaganda ape saving like the children of France. I'm like, you're right. That is what I wanted to see. I appreciate that immensely. That's very fun. When we've seen like the deconstruction of like today's civilization, you are going to get political. And when the apes just like quietly start to realize like, yeah, we are becoming the superior species, that's a political take too. And I appreciate it all. Like this was exactly what a modern apes comic needed, like reverting back to like the timeline that people know with like the rise, dawn, and war timeline. I think got the job done well. I appreciate the writing. I think the artwork was really fun. It's unique enough where it's its own thing, but it's also solely like, yeah, this is an ape story. This is exactly what we had to do. That hits the beats you want. I appreciate that. It's a really fun narrative that is weaving in. I hope we follow up. Maybe not even like follow up like in this regard, but if we were to do, maybe a book like a few decades on or like a century on where we see like the evolution of the society, that could be pretty interesting too. But I had a good time. I'm glad this book exists. I would love to see more come from the Planet of the Apes at Marvel. They're doing Wolverine versus Predator, which I'll be talking about, of course, because that's freaking sick. But if you do like, hey, apes versus something else, I'm on board for that too. So, Planet of the Apes, issue number 5. I am going to give an 8 out of 10. Now, thank you all for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.